All stations, stand by for an incoming radio transmission.
Very, very important. Hey, good morning, everybody. It is Bob here with the Southern Idaho Preparedness Net. Good morning. Holy crap. Holy crap. Everything's going crazy here. There's one out and two out. There we go. I'm back to just being me. This is why I go live a few minutes early, and I do this a few minutes early because of these very, very things. Let me get back to, it kind of looks like we're not going to have anybody else on today, so I'm going to get rid of those. And I've just got my news up and got the live feeds up. Good morning, KK7RDO. Good morning. Also, good morning, Wolf82 on Rumble. Good morning. Yep. And then we've got 6 folks watching over on YouTube. And let me pull that up so we get the live reactions there. Let's see. Pamela Crabtree in the house. Man, I just love hearing from Pamela because she is such a wealth of information. That is so cool. Just screwing around with all the buttons and knobs around here. It's like mission control over here. Today, if you haven't already guessed, we are talking about prepper nightmares. Things that keep us as preppers up at night thinking about life. Sierra Slim in the house over on YouTube and on Rumble. Good morning. Where are my? Hang on here. Where are my things? My little Rumble thing up in my Rumble logo. There it is. There's my Rumble logo. Got to look for that stuff sometimes. Let's see. Yeah, we're going to talk about all the prepper nightmares coming up today. And we'll get rid of that little guy there. And it's just you and I. I really, really want to hear from you guys today. Because it's not just about my prepper nightmares. It's about all of ours. I want to hear about your biggest fear. I guess, normally that kind of means what we are prepping for. And mine has changed over the years. It used to be EMP. That was I thought was going to be the thing. And in the last couple of years, it's kind of morphed into more the economic collapse. And now as of lately, more having to do with an attack from within, and not our government per se, but that's still a concern. But we've got sleeper cells that I think are going to get activated on a much more intense basis than they ever have been. Now, There's a lot of folks that say, 9/11 was an inside job. I don't know. The more I look into some things, the more it sounds plausible that, yeah, it could have been an inside job, but it also could have been, or can be, an inside job along with Al Qaeda or the Taliban or whoever, Osama bin Laden. I just don't think that our government would have come up with it on its own. I don't know. Maybe I'm completely freaking off base. Who knows? Let's see. I have nobody in the two shot today. About 7 minutes. We're gonna jump right into the net view here, and yes, I am running the net once again off of this little not a ham radio. These things are just so cool. You just take it wherever you want. It's not a radio. I get back into my repeater with this from anywhere that I have internet. Shameless plug. Well, it's not even, well, it is a shameless plug, I guess. So what's happening with you guys this morning? I'm seeing people come in and saying good morning. But hey, what is your biggest fear? Put them in the comments or put them in the chats, both on Rumble and on YouTube or even X, if you so happen to be over on X. Yeah, there it is right there at the bottom of the screen. You could jump on to X, go see Gray Man Survival. I post and repost a bunch of stuff over there that I find interesting. And you know what I do want to do? I want to jump over here really quick, and I'm going to put up come on, where is it? Topics, news. None of that seems to be working. Great. Okay. Screw it. That'll go away. I'll go back over to the main screen here. One of the things, as I was doing my research for this morning, executive orders. Obama did an executive order back in 2012. Let me pull it. Yeah, crap. I'll pull it back up. There it is. Executive Order 13603. You can go ahead and look that up if you want, but we are going to talk about it. I kind of did a little bit of AI research, and you come up with two different answers depending upon how you ask the same freaking question. And this is to Grok, and I got to say, I kind of trust Grok more than, a lot more than GPT. And I'm trying to learn some of the other, what is, I got bit by something. Oh, I did. Got bit by something on my arm. All right, looks like right now, there's 8 people. We got 3 minutes before the net starts. Hopefully some more people gather, but hey, if they don't, oh well. Yeah, nobody. Yeah. Guest 1. There's nobody on guest 1. I have another screen. The net view. we're fastly approaching the net hour. And what the net is, guys, if you're here and you haven't ever been part of a ham radio net, we're actually using ham radio over here. On the side, there's ham radio there. I'm using this to interface with my repeater. I've got a whole bunch of equipment on the back end. I've got a repeater. My repeater is hooked in with a couple of other repeaters and several other, we call them nodes that are hooked up, other repeaters, other ham radio operators throughout the country or the world that are connected to me through WiresX 0448. What is it? Yeah, I'm just losing it here. Completely losing it. 40448 is the WiresX room. YSF, which is another kind of a thing to get in like WiresX, but it's not owned by Yaesu, is another 40448. YSF is also the Idaho Command. Both of them called the Idaho Command to get you to the same place, which is right back over here in the corner to the WiresX node, and on the screens, which you will see in the center. Yeah, we've got a couple of guys have already kind of clicked in, and that's kind of how I direct the net is from who's clicking in. Got 1 minute before we hit the go button on this, and we're ready to go. People think, let me. Oh, here it is. Yes, Prepper Nightmare from Pamela. People think nothing will ever happen in our community, so they only prepare for famine and bartering. Interesting. That's very interesting. All right. 9 o'clock in the morning. It's time to hit the transmit button. And now I've got to get to here. Give me a second. All right, good morning and welcome to the Southern Idaho Preparedness Net. I'm Bob, K6UDA, your net control this morning. This net meets every Saturday morning, 0900 hours Mountain Time on the K6UDA repeater, located deep within the Southern Idaho Command in Twin Falls, Idaho. This is a digital radio net accessible via WiresX room 40448 and YSF reflector 40448, both called the Idaho Command. It's also available on the Hanson Butte 2-meter fusion repeater 145.170. Local hams with the analog radios can also participate using the KB7 DFP repeater on 442.000. Excuse me. The purpose of this net is the free exchange of information related to emergency preparedness, commonly known as prepping. We encourage deep dives into subjects related to food, water, shelter, personal protection, weapons, survival tactics, medical issues, communication gear, and techniques. Looking for subject matter experts to lead discussions on all these various subjects. If you have material you'd like to present or discuss, when you check in, please indicate that you have a subject. Although not primarily political, discussion of relevant political, cultural, or religious events are welcome in the context of situational awareness and survival. Let it drop. As part of my preparedness plan, practicing for the gathering and dissemination of important news and information to my family, friends, and the local community is what this whole net is all about. So as training, we do these sit rep or situation reports every week. While times are good, like they are right now, I'm using general news stories that I find interesting, and I ask everyone here to contribute their own stories and sit reps, especially if they're in or near an affected area of an actual emergency. In order to give everybody an opportunity to be heard, I'm going to do check-ins and comments in the following order. We'll do local repeater check-ins, WiresX check-ins, YSF check-ins, and then we might get to some live stream comments on the air. You're encouraged to check in with your call sign location, your first name, call sign, location, and how you're getting into the net, i.e. local repeater, WiresX, YSF. That being said, do we have any local repeater check-ins? Excuse me.
This is Kilo Bravo 7 Delta Foxtrot Papa, KB 7 DSP, Kenneth Twin Falls, no trap.
All right, good morning, Ken, and thanks for checking into the net. Copied, no traffic from you. Have a great day. Looking for check-ins on local repeaters. Any of the local repeaters in the Magic Valley that are copying this. All right, one more call for local repeater check-ins. If you're on Echolink or All Star through KB7 DFP or KB7 SQS, you can also check in now. All right, let's move on to WiresX check-ins. WiresX, come now.
November 8, Romeo Quebec Tango, checking in by M1KE and 8RQT, Cincinnati, Ohio.
All right, N8RQT. Good morning. Welcome to the net. If I can get your... All right, Bucky, I think I covered you, but N8RQT, welcome to the net. Can I get your first name and let's see. Looks like you're coming in through WiresX directly.
Hi, my name's Charlie, N8RQT. I am coming in via M1KE, so YSF, and I'm in Cincinnati, Ohio. N8RQT, nothing to add at this time.
All right, Charlie, thanks for checking into the net and being part of it. Let's see. I think we had Bucky in there next. Go ahead. Take one.
Hey, thanks a lot, boss. Up there in Twin Falls, Idaho. This is Bucky in Denver on the Denver repeater, Fusion repeater. And we've also got the Salt Lake City Fusion repeater up connected as well. I have no traffic. Back to net control.
All right, W0SUN, K6UDA. Thanks for checking in. Thanks for being part of the net on a regular basis, my friend. Looking for check-ins for the Southern Idaho Preparedness Net. Any mode, anywhere. This is Bob, K6UDA, your net control.
November 7, Romeo Bravo Papa in Medford. Good morning and no traffic.
All right, Bob in Medford. Good morning. Good to see you, and thank you for always being a solid piece of the net here. Looking for check-ins for the Southern Idaho Preparedness Net. Come now.
KE8 WSH, Bill in Michigan, no traffic.
All right, good morning, Bill. Good to see you on the net, and good to and I copied no traffic from you. Let's see. Are you on YSF?
KE8 WSH, yes, that's correct.
All right, the call signs got a little confused the last the last time around. Let's see. Check-ins. The Southern Idaho Preparedness Net. Come now.
KN6 EVQ, Mark in Patterson, California.
All right. Good morning, Mark, from California. Good to see you on the net. Do you have any traffic or sit reps for us today?
No traffic at this time.
Very good, my friend. Thanks for being part of the net. Looking for check-ins for this Southern Idaho Preparedness Net. Come now. All right. Hearing none. We're going to jump right into sit reps. And I got to move that out of the way. All right, we're still at war with Iran, and I guess this has been spreading. I guess Iran now has launched missiles at Turkey. Turkey is a NATO country, so they are invoking the NATO brotherhood thing, and so this is now turning into a world war, and kind of what we really didn't want to see. Let's see. We had radar bases housing key U.S. missile interceptor was hit in Jordan, Saudi Arabia, and UAE. And let me let it drop. I don't know what's going on with the radio. Okay, let's see if I've got it again. Looks like. Let's see, in other news, our Director or Secretary of Homeland Security, Kristi Noem, has been removed as Director of Homeland Security. At this point, we don't know if, you got two kinds of thoughts. One that Trump says she's going to be named as part of something that hasn't even really been formed yet. And the other train of thought is she was just flat out fired. Time will tell. Trump has had a lot of times where he has mentioned things, in the past. He's said, hey, watch out Venezuela. Well, then Venezuela happens. He's talked about Iran, and Iran happens. He's talked about Cuba, and we haven't seen that one yet. But it remains to be seen what he means by he's going to name her to some new agency or some new office. And in the meantime, we are getting, and I can't even remember the guy's name now, another senator, some senator who's going to take her place as Secretary of Homeland Security. I'm going to let it drop. Okay. In other news, in Texas, Texas had their primary elections this last Tuesday, and a couple of notable changes that are going to happen there. Jasmine Crockett out, Al Green out, Tony Gonzalez and Brandon Herrera were going to have a runoff. Brandon Herrera, the AK guy on YouTube, looks like he is now the nominee on the Republican side. I don't know who he's going up against on the Democrat side, but he's in a very, very red district. So I think he will probably be the next congressman from Texas, which is good because he is a strong Second Amendment guy. And that's kind of my big thing, is Second Amendment. And I don't have much else because I didn't prepare properly. I'm sorry, guys. Does anybody else have any other sit reps for the group? All right. Over on YouTube, Fire Guy out from the old country in Grass Valley. He corrected me. He says it's Mark Wayne Mullen is the guy. So thanks for that, Fire Guy. Do we have any final check-ins or anything else? Any other traffic for the radio portion of the net? All right, hearing nothing, we're going to go ahead and end the radio portion of the net. I want to thank all of the nodes, all of the stations and repeaters that carry this, and you take time out of your day to tune in to the Idaho Command. I want to thank you all. And if you're listening on the radio and watching on the live stream through the rest of the second part of the net, we are going to be talking about worst prepper fears and how to fix them. It will be interesting. So please join me over there on Rumble or even on YouTube at the Idaho Preparedness channel. And with that, I am going to say 7-3 to everybody on the radio. And if you have your radio on, you have a comment during the rest of the live stream, feel free just to say comment. I will answer you, and you could get your comment on live. With that, 7-3 everybody, and we'll see you next week. This is K6UDA for the Southern Idaho Preparedness Net. Okay. All right, everybody. I'm I'm going to go back over to this screen. I know it's boring, but I'm going to move these guys over here. And I got to turn that off. All right. Man, I need a producer. I need somebody to sit in here. All right, let me get to some of the comments here over on Rumble. Bravo Whiskey, first time listening to the net on the radio in a very long time today, and he noticed the audio volume to be very low. The radio is turned all the way up. Any ideas as to why that could have been? Well, I don't know. On the radio, using an FT2 and an open spot, and that, well, the FT2 is known to be kind of low volume. That was never one of my favorite radios. I had the FT2, and if that was, oh no, the FT2 was not bad. It was a little bit low volume. It was the FT1 that I was not a fan of. It looked pretty cool, but it definitely had issues. I don't know. There might be something on the open spot. You could turn up your received volume or increase the gain over on that. Shadow Bear says, so glad we got rid of Eye Patch McCain. Oh yeah. Oh, I forgot to mention that. Eye Patch is gone out of Texas. And if there was ever a Republican that deserved to get the axe, Eye Patch Man was one of them. And then it looks like that John Cornyn too. He's gonna face a runoff. Let's see. But if Paxton successfully sacrifices himself to get the SAVE Act passed, I'll take it. Okay. We will see. Let's see. Look like we got 13 on oh man, what a mess. 15 over on Rumble, 13 over on YouTube. Thank you guys all for jumping in there. Like I said, come on. Over here. Let's see. CUCV Farmer says in West Michigan, the People's Republic of Michigan, gasoline is $3.69. Diesel fuel is $4.99. Yeah. A couple of notable things. I was buying some 300 blackout for my my new PDW, and I had ordered some from Sportsman's Warehouse. They had some stuff that was good stuff, and it was fairly cheap. I had them order me in. I tried to get 10 boxes. They got me 5. And I said, can you order more? And she said, no. I said, why? Because we're going to be going into an ammo shortage again. So this comes from the manager at Sportsman's. Not necessarily a real industry well, she is an industry insider. So yeah. Let me pull up. Where are we at? All right. So getting into today's big subject. And I'm going to try to get all these things set up here. Oh, excuse me. Go back to there. All right, dealing with the greatest fears of preppers. Oh, hey, before we get going here, if you haven't already hit that subscribe button, please hit the subscribe button both on YouTube and on Rumble, on the Idaho Preparedness channel, on both of those. And while you're at it, I just put up a new YouTube channel called the Idaho 2A News channel. So if you're not a Rumble person and you haven't been watching Rumble and seeing all the gun stuff that I've been doing over there, go over to YouTube and go to the Idaho 2A News channel. And I'm putting all my gun stuff up there. I don't know how long it'll last because YouTube's back on the warpath. I was getting messages from like Military Arms Channel and Mr. Guns and Gear that YouTube is literally destroying their channels. Deleting like 70 videos in a day, just overnight. Boom. Just deleted. Gone. Let's see. Preppers who actively prepare for potential emergencies. I'm going to get back into our subject, our main subject right now. Or societal collapses often share a core set of fears based on discussions on online communities, articles, and expert insights. These fears typically stem from perceived vulnerabilities in modern society and some stuff that's already happened. I'll say that. One of the big ones, the number one, is a societal breakdown and violence from others. This includes civil unrest, looting, gangs, or attacks from desperate people, hungry, desperate people during chaos. Many preppers worry about humans as the biggest threat. Yeah, I kind of tend to agree. Such as bullets or arrows from intruders, organized groups, overwhelming isolated individuals. These are all very valid fears. This fear is amplified by scenarios like economic collapse leading to widespread desperation. Yeah, because we've seen it. We see it in other countries. Just because we haven't experienced this in our lifetime here in the U.S. doesn't mean that it can't happen. And we have kind of experienced this in our lifetime. Think back to Hurricane Katrina and what happened there. And we'll talk about that a little bit later. Resource scarcity. Running out of essentials like food, water, power, and fuel. A top concern. That's a big concern. Preppers often cite dehydration, starvation, lack of sanitation as immediate survival threats. Yeah, especially if you're in a city and you're trying to flush the toilets, I guess, because you can't dig a hole in the city. I guess you could be like the homeless in San Francisco and just crap on the streets. I don't know if anybody will pick it up forever, but who knows? Those are immediate survival threats, especially in desert or urban environments where access is limited. Darkness from power outages is also highlighted as breeding incidents, fear, and crime. To me, kind of darkness is my friend. Economic collapse and personal financial ruin, job losses, debt, medical bills, burnout, inflation, and an eroding savings. Well, we're seeing that right now. Those are seen as everyday apocalypses that could cascade into larger crises. Yeah, I mean, those are all very valid fears. Those are everyday fears, and I think people who don't even consider the possibility of prepping consider those as legitimate fears. Let me see here. Natural disasters and environmental threats, earthquakes, floods, storms, climate related events like fires, wildfires. You know, out west, we used to deal with wildfires constantly during the summer. I know back east, Pamela, who's in the chat there, she has dealt with stuff in her area, which has knocked power out for like weeks at a time. So she knows firsthand how to do the things that we are trying to prepare for. And she is a huge insight. She has a lot of good insight into stuff. Infrastructure failures and attacks, the EMP, cyber attacks, which is kind of, one of those things that we hadn't really thought of, because you start thinking, well, who cares if the if the computers go down, if Facebook goes down or whatever, Twitter, we'd probably be better off. But think about this. All your banking, if you are banking, goes through computers. And if the computer systems are hacked or brought down, that brings down the banking system. Stores won't open. A lot of stores won't open. Only mom and pop shops would be able to conduct business. Places like Home Depot, Lowe's, they'll shut down if they can't take payments and they're not set up to be offline. So that would be a devastating blow for people trying to, if something happened and then all of a sudden you go, hey, I need to go get some plywood to board up my windows or whatever. You wouldn't be able to do that if there was a cyber attack. And it's not something that hits like an EMP. It's kind of silent. You don't even know about it when you go to bed or you wake up, other than the fact that maybe Facebook doesn't work or the phones don't work. And if the banking system goes down, we're kind of screwed. Personal health and mental strain. Poor physical fitness. I suffer from that, man. I'm so out of shape. Obsession with prepping itself that can turn into paranoia. And that's a big thing that I see in some groups. Some worry about not being able to carry the weight or manage stress, or prepping that harms relationships. Well, if your family's on board with you and you do this, I'm not going to say in moderation, but you keep the reality, don't stop living your life, your daily life. And if this is just part of life, it's not prepping anymore. It's just part of life. Hey, you know what? We got to make sure that we have enough sugar on hand and salt on hand. Katie 8I, okay. Round is a shape. Yeah, hey, I get it. My shape is pretty round too. Back when I was working, I used to take a 50-pound pack and I used to hike up and down a hill that I lived right near. I used to hike that thing 10 times in a day, and just to keep the wind going and stay in shape. And here I'm on flat ground, and now I'm 64 years old and the body doesn't work like it does. So I have that I'm dealing with. I can't do the things that I did 10, 15, 20 years ago at all. I was in fairly good shape. Probably didn't look like it, but I was in pretty good shape. War, terrorism, and global instability, nuclear threats, invasions, and the fear of loved ones being caught in conflict. That overlaps with the government distrust and biological and chemical attacks. Man, that's a big one. These are all fears of mine. I mean, like I said, it used to be my biggest fear used to be the EMP. I don't know. That's probably still my biggest fear because that puts us as a society back in the 1850s without their technology. But what do I see as most probable? Right now, it's well, I mean, as of this last week, I think it's shifted again. Now it's World War III, and what does that bring? What does, if let's just play the little what ifs. I don't think Iran has a nuclear weapon. China might have given them one. Who knows? And if they get desperate enough, maybe they pop that off. If Israel gets on the losing end of this thing and they get to the point of defeat, do they blow up the Middle East with a nuclear bomb? And what does that start? You could just go on and on and on. All right. So how do we deal with all the fear? First of all, we want to build our practical skills and we want to get back to basics. We want to start with the essentials. Make sure your food stores, you've got plenty of non-perishable. You've got stuff that doesn't need to be refrigerated and has longer expiration dates, or you've put them away with oxygen absorbers in Mylar bags, then stuffed them in buckets. So you've got that as the very, very last, and maybe partly the first stuff that you're going to get into. Should there be a banking holiday or or worse yet, the grid gets taken down and now we don't have power, everything kind of shuts down. Make sure you've got a water plan at the first sign of whatever immediate emergency. I mean, you want to do things like fill the bathtub full of water within the first hour or two, because there will still, if you're on city water, there's still water in the system, and you want to fill up as much water storage as you can in those last minutes. You want to have some water storage beforehand if you possibly can. But if you can't, you do what you can. Let me see what we've got here in the chats, because they're kind of lighting up. Miko Wolf, let's see. Good morning. Too late for good morning. That's where constitutional currency comes in. I don't know what constitutional currency is other than gold and silver, or lead. Ham radio frequencies used to be the Knights of the Round Table. Now it's the Round Knights of the Table. Yes, round is a shape. Turned on subscriber mode only. Okay. So, wow, hang on. Moderator turned on. Yep. We got a couple of moderators in the house here. And one, okay. Turned it off, turned it on, turned it off. That's okay. I'm just looking at all the control stuff. Sierra Slim says, I guarantee Israel will not get on the losing side during this fight with Iran. I sincerely hope so. But it's always been a concern of mine is what happens, if they do. I get it. God will intervene, but at what point? From the Rumble side over here, Shadow Bear. Let's see. Okay, KK7RDO says gas is $3.47 in the Treasure Valley. Yeah, I know. See, it's going up already. And this is a war thing. I think this is that's a war thing. Can't do the things back then too, and even worse. I have an Ostamani. Try that. I can't even say it. Shadow Bear. I'm on a well, but I really need to get an auxiliary power replaced, wired up, so you can run it off the generator. Well, if you can plug your generator into a circuit that runs your well pump, that'll do it too. That's probably the easiest way, but you also want to look at the possibility of doing like a hand pump, like a simple pump. And I've got a simple pump. I don't have it. I've got to get another device to go in line between my wellhead and being able to drop a hand pump down in the well and being able to use either or. And that's one of my things that I need to get on. You want to strengthen your finances. Let's see. Other things that you want to do to build your skills. Skills like gardening, foraging. If you're weak on self-defense, you want to practice that. You want to get better, get trained up. First aid, which is one of my lowest areas. I am totally reliant on people who have more knowledge in medical field than I do. And I need to get a lot more reliant on myself. This address. Avoid common mistakes like over-focusing on dramatic scenarios and prepare for likely ones like job losses or power outages. Strengthen your finances and your health. Tackle economic fears by building an emergency fund, reducing your debt, improving your physical fitness, being able to carry weight, managing stress. Treat those as foundational preps. So, yeah, it sounds like, hey, most of us here need to work on that. And I definitely need to work on that. Cultivate a mindset and emotional resilience. Accept that fear is normal, but don't let it dominate you. Ask, what's the worst thing that could happen? Everybody could die. I guess that's the worst thing that could happen. Then prepare calmly and improve. Practice your drills. Stay informed from reliable sources and maintain routines to adapt. For obsessive fears, if you have obsessive fears, seek therapy. If prepping impacts relationships or daily life, mindset is the key. Calm thinking and leadership build true resilience. Yes, 100%. Yes. Okay, let's get into a couple of comments here. Coins from, okay. Miko Wolf says, okay, constitutional currency, coins from 64 and down. Yeah, that's because it's 90% silver. And so, like I said, gold and silver and lead. From Pamela, 0.720 in pesos are currently my favorites due to 0.72 is on the coin. Then the Liberty $50 coins been making doomed coin bracelets. Oh, interesting. Biological is definitely a factor, but water purification is also important. Yes. Huge important. Even if something happens and you've got to fill the bathtub because that's going to be your water source for the next 2 or 3 days, we don't know what's in the water. You don't know if the pipes coming in are have been contaminated. You don't know, especially in the case of some of these sleeper cell attacks. How easy, and we've talked about this before, how easy would it be for somebody to dump a cup of bubonic plague, or name your pathogen, into a city's water supply? So yeah, definitely having a well is a huge benefit on that. Game theory professor Jang, predictive history. He mentions how Iran can become a global situation quickly due to shipping. And Pamela, you sent me that video. That was very I just saw the first couple of minutes of it, but that could be very interesting. If you want to post that in the chat, I'll put that up. Other things that we want to do: foster community and networks. Exactly what we're doing right here. Isolation amplifies violent fears. Build trusted groups with neighbors, family, or local organizations to meet a mutual need. Share your knowledge without revealing too much. Maintain your OPSEC. Communities clarify dangers, reduce misinformation, and add recovery. Educate loved ones, especially your kids, without scaring them. Frame it as empowerment. I hate that word. That is like empowerment. Like we're all just little sheep and we want to feel powerful. No, you can be as powerful as you want. Prioritize balance and recovery. Prep reasonably for middle ground scenarios, not just the extremes. I always said that, the most likely things that are going to happen are the floods, the fires, the earthquakes, the hurricanes, because they happen every year. And for those areas that are effective, it's a complete shit hits the fan situation. For those of us who are not affected by it, it's everyday life. So as long as things are regional, I would say the complete shit hits the fan scenario is not probable. Now, something that we always are cognizant of is government overreach during emergencies. Preppers often worry about government overreach during emergencies where authorities might seize essential supplies like food, firearms, ammunition, precious metals under the pretext of public safety or resource distribution. This fear is rooted in historical events. Such as 1933 U.S. gold confiscation via executive order. That required citizens to turn in gold holdings to stabilize the economy during the Great Depression. More recently, Hurricane Katrina in 2005 provided stark examples. In the chaos that followed the storm, New Orleans officials issued an order. This was citywide, or county or parish or whatever they call it back there, to confiscate civilian firearms, stating no one will be able to be armed. Guns will be taken. Only law enforcement will be allowed to have guns. Police and National Guard units went door to door, sometimes at gunpoint, seizing hundreds of weapons from law-abiding residents who wouldn't abandon their houses and decided to stay and protect their property and their lives there instead of going into FEMA camps at the Superdome over there. Remember that? That led to lawsuits. The NRA and FPC helped to recover some of the firearms and prompted federal legislation like the 2006 Disaster Recovery Personal Protection Act, which prohibits gun confiscation during emergencies. Now, if the emergency is big enough, I think they would just do it and beg forgiveness later. That's my personal opinion about that. That's kind of like getting a restraining order. A restraining order is a piece of paper, and if somebody wants to violate the piece of paper, it doesn't take much. All they have to do is have the will to say, I disavow your piece of paper, and I'm going to do this anyway, and we'll deal with it later. So I always keep that in mind. Miko Wolf says he finally plugged into his CB radio, and the airwaves are completely dead. CB around here is like Mex radio. Is like Mexi radio. Hurricane Katrina gun compensation. I think gun confiscation. Strategies about this fear. Dealing with this involves a combination of legal awareness, practical preparedness, and mental resilience. All the things that we're kind of talking about. The goal is to mitigate your risks without escalating into paranoia or illegal activities. This is something that I found. I did a Grok search on this. Build legal knowledge and advocacy and understand your rights. Familiarize yourself with post-Katrina reforms. The 2006 Act and similar state laws passed in over 40 states explicitly ban firearm confiscation during disasters. For other items, executive orders like 13603, which we'll talk about in a minute, allow resource allocation, but emphasize voluntary compliance first. Outright seizures are limited and challengeable in court. And in court comes weeks, months, or years after the fact. if at all. Join groups like the NRA or Second Amendment Foundation for updates and legal support. Document everything. This I totally agree with. Keep records of your possessions, i.e. your serial numbers for your guns, receipts for all your metals, to prove ownership if recovery is needed. Especially in the case of, hey, you've got multiple firearms, let's say, and now you need to bug out. And you bug out very quickly because of, let's say, earthquake, hurricane, fire. And when you get home, somebody's in your house. Somebody decided they're gonna move in. Now you've got all that to deal with, but now you also have to be able to prove you own your firearms because they'll say they do. Advocate politically. Support legislation that limits emergency powers. Katrina's aftermath showed how public outcry and advocacy led to protective laws. Engage in community discussions. I don't have big faith in this. If there were to be a major nationwide SHFT event. Diversify and secure your storage. Spread out your assets. Avoid keeping all supplies in one location. Store portions off-site with trusted allies or in multiple caches to reduce total loss. For precious metals, mix physical holdings with other assets like cash or barter items, recognizing that in extreme collapses, food or skills might hold more immediate value. And that is 100% true. If everybody's starving to death, a can of beans is going to go a lot further than an ounce of silver. Concealment tactics. Use creative, non-obvious storage for high-value items. For food, maintain decoy visible stocks while hiding the bulk items elsewhere. For guns and ammo, consider weatherproof containers in varied spots. Always comply with laws. Illegal concealment can backfire. Home fortification. Reinforce your property with better locks, alarms, and barriers to deter searches. Foster community and redundancy and build networks. Again, exactly what we're doing here. This is a community and a network. Mutual aid with like-minded preppers for shared resources and collective defense. In Katrina, isolated individuals were more vulnerable. Yes, they are. Especially when all the neighbors moved out and there's one lady living on that street. Operational security. Limit who knows about your preps and avoid becoming a target. Too late, Bob. Cultivate mental resilience. Reframe your fears. Recognize that while Katrina happened, it spurred reforms and it makes the repeats less likely. And that might be for, I would say, your regional emergencies. Another Katrina in one city or one parish or state is probably not going to trip that wire where government officials say, well, we know what the law says, but this is what we're going to do anyway, because we're going to, I would say in California, they'll confiscate the guns anyway. And they'll say, you'll get them back later, but you'll never get them back, especially in California, especially with what they're doing. We'll talk about that another time. Practice scenarios, run drills for evacuation or defense, but balance that with normal life to avoid burnout. Yeah, you don't want to live your life doing that. This isn't the army or any any part of the military. Stay informed. You want to monitor reliable sources for policy changes and avoid echo chambers that inflate risks. Well, I mean, unfortunately, our news cycle is pretty much one side or the other side. There's very, very little that's in the middle that is factual. And that's what a sitrep is supposed to be, is just a factual, here's what's happening. Let's see. I wanted to talk a little bit. Let me see if anybody's got questions. Let's see. I see nothing. I'd really like a diesel generator so I can store more diesel. Says KD8IOK. Yeah, I would love a diesel generator too, because I do store some diesel, but I store that's for tractors because, it's a farm. And we got to run equipment all summer long. From YouTube, let's see. Tennessee is researching flooding and areas most prone to flooding. Let's see. Mika Wolf says, I can get a can of beans for AK-47. That's SHTF. What looks like. Yeah. I mean, I don't know if I'd trade a AK-47 for a can of beans, because as soon as you gave him the AK-47, he'll turn it around and take his can of beans back too. That would be my thinking. All right, let's talk about Executive Order 13603, titled the National Defense Resources Preparedness Act. Or it wasn't even an act, it was an executive order signed by none other than Barack Hussein Obama back in 2012. It is an administrative order that updates and delegates authorities under the Defense Production Act of 1950, which was originally enacted during the Korean War to ensure the U.S. can prioritize and allocate resources for the national defense. You know what I'm going to put up here? I'm going to put up a couple of things. If you guys want to support me, gunsandhamradio.locals.com. That'd be a great place to come support me. Buy me a cup of coffee or whatever, I mean, just $1. It'd be really nice. And that's actually to get off the subject. Nope, she's not in here. Man, that sounded like she was right over my, yep, there she is.
I'm leaving, Bob.
Okay, hon, I love you.
Say hi to all 3 girls.
Hi, bye.
He's on his YouTube channel.
Okay. What was I just saying? I can't even remember now. Oh yeah. Help support me. gunsandhamradio.locals.com. Enough of that. Oh yeah. That was it. I'm giving away radios, and I decided, the radios that I'm giving away, I'm going to give them away to the people that support me. So go on Locals, support me. I support you. I've got a stack full of radios. I'm going to start giving those away. I got to get a K6EDA video out. I've got a couple in mind here. Anyway, let's get back into executive order. So the order's main goal is to maintain and strengthen U.S. industrial and technological basis so it can support national defense requirements in both peacetime and during national emergencies. It delegates specific powers to the DPA, the Defense Production Act, to various cabinet secretaries. So now, instead of having agencies that have to go in under guidelines, it says, oh, well, now in an emergency, the Secretary of, say, Agriculture can decide what to do about food resources, livestock, veterinary resources, fertilizers, all that good stuff. Secretary of Energy can make unilateral decisions about all forms of energy. The Secretary of Health and Human Services is completely in charge then of health resources. Secretary of Transportation make unilateral decisions about civil transportation. Planes, trains, automobiles, they could decide on their own how it's going to work, where it's going to work, if it's going to work. Secretary of War is in charge of water resources. Think about that. And the Secretary of Commerce is in charge of other materials, services, facilities, and construction materials. All of these things can be confiscated for the greater good. Now, this is according to Grok. Excuse me. Let's just see. What do we have in the house here? 14 in the house over on YouTube. 9 thumbs up. Can I get a couple more? Can I get it up to 14? We've got 16 people over on Rumble. I don't see anything on X. Let me see. We got 10 views on X. So we got a few people. Wow. Let me turn that off. All right. Common misconceptions and controversies. When issued, Executive Order 13603 sparked significant online claims and viral emails alleging it granted the president sweeping new powers to declare martial law, seize private property, including food, guns, vehicles, to impose rationing, restart a peacetime draft, rationalize industry arbitrarily. Some even falsely claimed it enabled indefinite presidential terms or created a youth army via FEMA. These interpretations are inaccurate. Fact checks, including from Snopes and factcheck.org, confirm the order is not a martial law declaration and does not create new presidential powers. It largely is an update of the long-standing delegations that date back to administrations as early as the Truman administration. Core authorities stem from the DPA itself. Blah, 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 blah. The order has been referenced in later contexts, such as during COVID-19 response, where DPA authorities were invoked for medical supplies and testing. So, yeah, they did. They kind of took over some of the medical industry in our country and retasked drug companies with coming up with DNA smashing vaccines. Let's see. It's not a broad tool for civilian control under or suspension of rights. That would have to be a declaration of martial law. Now, I went through and I told Grok, I said, answer this with suspicion. If you were a suspicious person, answer that same question. What is it? What does that whole EO mean? Okay, and here's Grok's answer to in reality. Order 13603, signed by Barack Obama, 2012, is basically a blueprint for the government to seize control over pretty much every resource in the country under the guise of national defense preparedness. Sure, they say it's just updating the DPA from the 50s to make sure we can handle emergencies, but let's be real. It's a massive delegation of power to federal agencies that could easily be twisted into something far more intrusive in the folks in charge, if the folks in charge decide it's necessary. At its core, this order hands out authority to cabinet secretaries to prioritize, allocate, and even commandeer materials, services, facilities, or anything it deems related to national defense. We're talking the Secretary of Agriculture controlling food supplies and farms, especially taking over power sources, Health and Human Services dictating medical resources, and so on, all the way to commerce handling construction and other essentials. They claim it's only for approved defense programs like the military gear or critical infrastructure, and it needs written justification. But in a crisis, who's really checking? The order just sets up councils like the National Security Council to coordinate, but it just sounds like a way to centralize control without much oversight. People freaked out when it dropped. Rumors flying about martial law, property seizures, forced labor, or even restarting the draft. Officially, the government fact checkers dismissed it all as overblown. It's not new powers, but a fresh, just a refresh of old Truman era stuff. Could it be used to seize items from individuals? Stored food. Secretary of Agriculture gets more authority over food resources, anything ingestible by humans or animals at all processing stages, and food resource facilities. They could declare your home a food resource facility, which means in a declared emergency that it could theoretically justify directing or commandeering large private stockpiles if deemed essential for national needs, especially framed as hoarding, disrupting supply chains. Preppers and skeptics point out the broad language as a backdoor to rationing or taking your personal food stores. Yep. Guns and ammo. Says no authority here. Firearms and ammunition aren't covered under the delegated categories: food, energy, transportation, water, health, or general materials. DPA historically focuses on industrial production, materials or defense, not personal weapons. Separate laws like post-Katrina reform and disaster recovery, personnel protection explicitly prohibit federal seizure of legally owned firearms during disasters. Nothing in the EO grants a new gun confiscation power. That's good. Precious metals. These fall under potentially under commerce or interior for strategic critical ones. But the order emphasizes industrial mining development for defenses, not confiscating personal holdings like gold and silver from individuals. Broader emergency powers, e.g., get past gold seizures under FDR, would require separate executive orders. And vehicles, civil transportation, which includes vehicles and related facilities, the Secretary of Transportation could allocate or direct them, potentially commandeering private vehicles if tied to defense logistics. Trucks for supply chains. Personal cars might be a stretch unless extreme scenarios, but hey, that's what we prep for, is extreme scenarios. Regardless of ownership, gives leeway for coordination and control. Okay, that's all I got on all this. Let me move this over. Let's see. Do we have any comments, questions, suggestions, things that I missed in my thing that we want to get out there? Pamela says the U.S. does not extract oil at 100% capacity. They're only running at 30 to 40% capacity. And currently, so Trump could order an increase in oil production. And Mika Wolf says, if people say I'm coming over to your house because you got everything, I said, doesn't work if you live in a reservation, natives own country. And law does not work if you live on the reservation. Well, most of us in the U.S. don't live on a Indian reservation, so yeah, I guess that could be, but probably in all actuality, that's not going to be a major thing. Let's see. Nobody's got anything on Rumble anymore. All right. Well, that kind of gets us out of here a little bit early. I'm going to go, I'm packing up some guns to go out to a competition in Jerome. So I'll be out there today, plinking, doing some steel target shooting. And does anybody else have anything for the good of the order? Peace and safety. One type of peace from Pamela. One type of peace is a community and mutual agreement. Yep. Another type of peace is forced compliance under the false sense of peace. Forced submission to overreach. Yeah, definitely. Definitely. It was funny last night. The wife and I, we watched both Red Dawns last night. And, you know, if you try to put the reality base on it, you know, there's a couple of things you go, that wouldn't happen. You know, 300, you think about it, even if you had 30,000 troops, let's say 30,000 Russian, Nicaraguan, Cuban, and South Korean or Korean troops landed in the U.S. There's 300 million guns. There's way more than that. There's 300 million people in America. And if just 50 million people took up arms against an invading force, we would crush them. I mean, they can't outgun us. And I was like, how did they get artillery? And well, they had Humvees. And I'm thinking, how do you guys have Humvees? Because you don't have them. But suspend my disbelief for just a second. I think we would crush an invading army, just like if sleeper cells activated on a grand scale. Let's just say sleeper cells activate on a grand scale. I think you would very quickly have Americans here that would wipe out mosques. They would wipe people. They would wipe them out pretty quickly. I just think that would happen. People would not stand. Hey, if you just had 1 million people decide, we're gonna do this. Drug cartels in Mexico is going off trying to invade the United States. Think about it. They're not actually trying to invade the United States. I think if we actually said, hey, we're just going in and we're going to do to the cartels and screw you, Sheinbaum. If we said we're just going to go in and we're going to take care of business, I think we could cut the head off of that snake in about 3 days. Because I think most people in most of those towns, when you sent your intelligence people in, most of the people in all the towns, they don't want that because they're the ones that are being terrorized. They're the ones that are being murdered. And they would go, yeah, it's that guy over there on the corner. That's the guy. Cut his head off. And you'd have 100,000 guys with cut off heads in Mexico. American version of Red Dawn is a whole lot better than the Australian. I've never seen the Australian version. That's crazy. I didn't know that there was one. The enemies are in our country and we are trying to deport them all. Yep. 100%. Military surplus market. You can buy Humvees. You can buy anything you want. Yeah, but not the way that they were outfitted in Red Dawn. And literally in the first Red Dawn, they had military, they had, half tracks and all kinds of stuff. They couldn't get those in a day. Cartel is in every state. Yeah, there are cartel members in every state, but they're not running things and they're not pervasive to the point of Mexico. And we're not talking about a standing army. We're talking about criminals who are afraid of law enforcement. They're afraid of getting caught here, at least. Maybe not in Mexico, but at least here. They're afraid of getting caught in American justice system, or doing battle with the cops. If they weren't, it would be like Red Dawn, where they just came in. And I don't know why in the second Red Dawn, where Dad was a police sergeant who had a rifle, a shotgun, and a pistol in his car, why he didn't go down. If it was me in that position, I would have gone down fighting in those very first hours. I would have taken out what I could that's, jumping from the sky. And, most likely he would have been killed. He wouldn't have been captured because, he told his kids, well, the first one he said, "Avenge me." The second one, because I watched them last night. The second one, he was like, you do like I would have done, but he didn't do it. He gave up. He didn't go down. He didn't go down fighting. I think there'd be a lot more people willing to go down fighting than to give up and become subjugated like it happened in the movies. Anyway. Yes, Miko Wolf. Yes, I know. You can buy a half track in a military auction. A foreign military can't come in and just buy up in a day, or unless they took over a military base, they're not coming in with foreign weapons. Their artillery, they had artillery, they had all this stuff going on in the movie that I was like, how'd you get that in? You didn't bring it in on ship, and all of a sudden you're in Colorado in the first one, or in Spokane in the second one, and Coeur d'Alene used to be a tiny little town, but it's a little bit bigger now, and I think you'd have a fair amount of people that would fight back, at least from that side of the river. Okay. I think that's it. I don't have anything else. Anybody have anything else? And then I'm gonna say we'll see y'all next week. If anybody has any ideas for topic for next week, email it to me, or hey, right there at the bottom, Grayman at Grayman Survival. Go on X, Twitter, and tweet to me, or X to me, your ideas for a topic for next week. And maybe next week. Next week. Will I have a net? I don't know if we'll see. I am hosting a couple of the first hours of the Idaho QSO party next weekend. So if you're a ham radio person, you want to make contacts with Idaho, I'll be playing. My club will be playing here in Studio B. And we'll see you all then. Have a good one. I'm Bob, K6UDA, and I'm out of here. 7-3.